My name is Etoyle Mouser. I'm 99 and a half. I'll be 100 on November 11th. I was born 11/11/1925. I lived in a dog trot house. I don't know whether you know what one of those is. A big house with a wide hallway and the kitchen on one side, and the other rooms, whatever they were, we had 2 other rooms. And so really a matter of 3, 2 large and 1 smaller room. Remember, this was before the Depression and before World War II. And we had no electricity as long as I lived at home. During the war, the rural electrification program was developed. They got electricity, and Daddy built a new house. And so I could go to the new house for a couple more years there. But that was my life. I entered Arkansas State Teachers College when I was 16. I graduated from high school as the valedictorian at Greenbrier High School. I went to ASTC for 3 years, and well, I worked in the summers. After my sophomore year, I became a Rosie the Riveter, worked in the war plant at Jacksonville. It was an ordnance plant. It made detonators and fuses for guns for the war because, see, my whole 3 years was during World War II. One teacher who lived in our small community, Spring Hill community in Faulkner County, and that's a couple miles south of Greenbrier. And she was a teacher in as far as I was concerned, a faraway place. It was not in our area, but she came home in the summer, and she gathered some kids around her and told stories and read some poems, you know, Child's Garden of Verse kinds of things. And from that time on, I think I wanted to be an English teacher. I had this friend who was from my community in Spring Hill in Faulkner County. When she and her husband lived in Pine Bluff and had successful business, she was a teacher at Tolerway. And she said to me one day, "Why don't you go down and apply for a teaching job?" Because there was a shortage of teachers because the boys all had to go to the war the week after they graduated from high school. And the women mostly left whatever jobs they had and went to work in war plants because they made more money than the jobs they'd had before. So there were a lot of people teaching on emergency certificates. So I did go down to the county superintendent, and he brought in a superintendent from Humphrey. There were lots of little rural schools around, 3 or 4 miles apart, but I guess that was before busing probably came into being about that time when schools started consolidating, and Greenbrier became one of the biggest consolidated schools in the state and has always had a good school. At any rate, this fine southern gentleman came and interviewed me, and he wanted me to teach in elementary school because I was just 19 years old. And I said, "No, thank you. I want to teach high school English. I'm prepared to teach high school English." So I went back home planning to go for my senior year in college. And a couple weeks later, he came to my house out in the country and said, "If you'll teach, I'll let you teach high school English." So I did get the job and went to Humphrey, not knowing a single person there, not having a place to live. Someone there arranged for me to board with a family, because there were certainly no motels around at that time, and nor apartments. And I wouldn't have been able to afford it if they'd had an apartment, because I think I made $114 a month. This is when I became acquainted with the retirement system. I had taught 2 years when I had my first child and a boy. I withdrew my retirement after that 2 years. I just thought I was going to be a housewife and never teach again. I was very wrong. I did leave at the end of that year and go move. We both went to Conway and stayed for a couple of semesters, and then he transferred to the University of Arkansas. After we came back to he wanted to farm with his older brother, and he did that rather unsuccessfully for several years. I went back to teaching, and I repaid my retirement fund, and boy, am I glad I did, because our retirement system has become one of the best ones in the country. It's stable, and it's been fortunate to have wonderful leaders and investment people, and the investments have been successful. And so lots of states have the kind of system that varies with the economy. If the economy goes up, they may get a little raise, and if not, they may go down. And lots of different conditions and factors, but we just have been real fortunate in Arkansas to have a wonderful retirement system.